I'm Bonnie Browning, Executive Show Director for the American Quilter Society. I'd like to welcome you to our second annual AQS Quilt Show and Contest here in Des Moines, Iowa. Right, this is the Best of Show quilt. It's called Arabesque, and it's by Karen K. Buckley from Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And she does the most magnificent applique almost of anybody in the industry right now. This quilt has already won some Best of Shows. I think this happens to be her 7th Best of Show, not with just this one quilt, but that just goes to prove what a good quilter she is. The applique is impeccable, tiny, tiny little stitches. She truly has made a new piece of fabric by appliquing all those pieces together. And then, of course, you can see how well she has quilted the backgrounds, and the style of the quilting in the backgrounds of the different elements is totally different. And she did a faux border on the quilt, all done with quilting.
Bonnie, she actually does the quilting as well as the piecing?
Yes, and this is all done on a Bernina sewing machine, home sewing machine.
The whole huge quilt?
Yes.
On a domestic sewing machine?
Domestic sewing machine.
This whole huge, ladies and gentlemen, let me back this up. She stuck this in a little sewing machine, and it wasn't long-armed.
No, it was not long arm. It was a home sewing machine. And you do that by rolling it up halfway. And usually you start in the center and work to one end, and then you go back and start in the center and work to the other end, so that you're able to just have a half of a quilt rolled underneath that arm at a time.
But I'm looking at all the fine little detail here.
You have to be able to control your sewing machine expertly to be able to do this kind of quilting.
How long would it take her to make one of these?
It took her 3 years to make this
I would
quilt.
say.
Karen is here teaching at the show this year, and I had an opportunity to talk with her about the quilt, and she said it was a 3-year project.
Wow, let me see if I can get closer over here.
Yeah, like look at the clamshells in here.
Look at the in between the circles, all
around the circles.
Around the circles.
She stippled around the circles. And Karen is an expert on appliquing.
I'm going to say, look at all the little red circles that are. These are all like stuffed applique, right?
Yes.
Like little berries in a
yes.
way. Karen is her name.
Karen K. Buckley.
Karen.
Yes.
You blew me away, Karen. This is incredible. And when Karen, when I look at this, the first thing I think of is the most expensive type of ethnic rug, oriental rug or something. The way it's just something you would never walk on, of course, but it gives me that feeling when you're looking at all that small detail and to think you did it all by hand like that.
And lots of little tiny pieces that she appliqued.
I'm telling you. Bonnie, over around the corner here, I noticed a quilt, and I said the quilting police have lightened up, because tell them, Bonnie, what this whole quilt is stitched with.
This entire quilt is quilted with metallic thread. And again, you know, part of the ability to be able to do that today is that our manufacturers are giving us better quality thread to do that with. I don't know about you, but it used to be that if you used metallic thread, you'd put it in and sew one seam and your thread would break.
A lot of it is the setup too, Bonnie.
Yes,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I do think that the manufacturers are giving us better quality of metallic thread than we used to have. But this is all done curves. The whole thing is done with curves all over the surface of the quilt in the quilting pattern.
And everything that's quilted on here is metallic thread. I gotta back up, viewers, and show you how huge this quilt is. And imagine all the metallic thread that went in this. And I know it's hard to tell in person, but when the light hits this, when they had the lights on today and it was hitting it, it was just glistening.
Yes.
Just glistening.
The other aspect of this quilt is every single bit of piecing in this quilt is a curved seam, except joining the blocks together.
Uh-huh.
Every block is a different set of curves.
And as we've seen, all these different styles of quilting, where they, for all my friends on Facebook and YouTube and everybody who doesn't understand, quilting is 3 layers of fabric, one being of a batting type material that gives you the puff, and that's considered quilting.
So you have the top of the quilt, which is the red part, the batting, and then you'd have a backing fabric.
Awesome.
Christopher, have you noticed this quilt? This quilt is Bali High by Marilyn Badger from St. George, Utah. And the difference between this one and the quilt we just looked at with metallic thread is that this one was all done on a long arm machine. And not only has she used gold metallic, but she's used a blue-green metallic. She's used some variegated thread. Again, equally difficult designs. Lots of curves, lots of fills, lots of different fills to create the dimension in the various aspects of this quilt.
Now, Bonnie, I'm looking at this close up, and it doesn't look as tiny as when I back up, ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to realize how micro this stitching is. It's like almost like netting. That's how tiny the stitching is. It's like metallic netting. Here I go. I'm going to back this up.
Like each one of those little slivers of quilting are maybe an inch wide at the widest part.
Look how huge this quilt is. I'm still backing up. Is there enough room for me to keep going?
Yes.
Look at that.
This quilt won the Best Workmanship by a Long Arm Award here at the Quilt Show.
The details of these is phenomenal. I don't think I've ever really appreciated the detail that went into some of this work until I've seen it in person now. Unbelievable. I mean, how do they say this is not your grandma's quilting?
Yeah, that's exactly.
This is not your grandma's quilting. This is contemporary art now we're seeing, and the diversity of threads and designs, and this is fun. This is fun, Bonnie. This is fun.
Well, not only that, but you know what? We have some quilters who have great color sense to put the colors together.
Yeah, that's another part of it to understand.
Christopher, I hope that we've given you a good idea of the types of quilts that are displayed in our quilt shows at each one of our quilt shows. This particular quilt is called Alpha Bot, and if you look at all the blocks, you'll see that there is a sheep on each one. And so, you know, it just goes to show that quilters have fun with their work as well as taking it very seriously. I appreciate your spending the time with us, and I hope you'll come see us at one of our AQS quilting events.